Hello, welcome back. Everyone, welcome back. Today we have a very interesting guest with us. This is Harrison Elliff.
Assalamu alaikum, how y'all doing?
An American whose name recently gained attention after a video published by Jakarta Inside went viral, reaching more than 600,000 views. Great.
600,000?
600, more than
600,000. MashaAllah, very
viewers.
good.
In that video, Harrison expressed his condolences to the Iranian ambassador during a moment of rising tension in the Middle East. As an American, he also openly voiced criticism of war and spoke again when he described as the occupation of Palestinian land by Israel. Today, we want to hear directly from him about his view, his belief, and his personal journey. Okay, a little in bahasa, sorry. Buat pemirsa Jakarta Inside, kali ini saya Rahman Sugidianto selaku host bersama Harrison Elliff, seorang Amerika yang concern, peduli tentang kemerdekaan Palestina. Tidak seperti yang ada di media, meskipun pemerintahan Amerika sekarang mendukung Israel, tetapi tidak semua warganya ternyata mendukung Israel. Salah satunya adalah Harrison Elliff. Harrison atau you Harry ya?
Yes, go Harry, yes.
Harry concern ya, sangat peduli tentang kemerdekaan Palestina. Jadi kita langsung aja ya. So Harry sudah 4 tahun. You spend 4 years in Indonesia.
4 years in Indonesia, and I first came here 10 years ago. That was my first time here.
Okay. The first question, first of all, could you briefly introduce yourself and tell our audience a little about your background?
Sure. So my name's Harry, and I'm originally from Texas. I moved around a little bit as a kid. I joined the Army at 17, and I joined the Army to I was very motivated after 9/11. I was very motivated and determined, like many young people, that we hated Osama bin Laden and we wanted to get him. So I joined the Army and became military police, and I went to Iraq from 2008 to 2009. And when I was in Iraq, unfortunately, I got injured by a grenade. One of the Iraqi insurgents, probably a Sunni one, possibly supported by Iran, more than likely supported by Iran. They hit me with a grenade. I got injured. We were at an Iraqi police station next to a school. The boy who used a grenade was about 8 or 9 years old. And I was medevaced and taken out of the country, brought back to Texas, San Antonio specifically. And I was given a medical pension and retired early from the Army. And after that, I went to university for a few years, but that just didn't work out for me either. I kind of felt alone in university. I came back to American society. And
which major you take in university?
I was in political science.
Political science.
I've always had an interest in nerd political things and international relation type things. I went back to university. I eventually bought a house, settled down in the United States, but it's hard to explain. This is a common problem for a lot of veterans, and this is a common problem for a lot of people who spend time outside the United States and outside the West. It's you come back to a very sort of lonely, individualistic society, and you go, man, I miss my friends. I miss my old buddies in the old unit. I would say I miss the Iraqis, even though I hated them sometimes and they hated me. So eventually I took my father's offer. My father was living in Southeast Asia. He's been living there for the last 20 years. And I moved to Southeast Asia, had some adventure. And I lived in Vietnam for a couple of years. Eventually I wound up here in Indonesia. My ex-wife is originally Indonesian too herself. She's Chinese and Christian. Divorced her about 6 years ago. I became Muslim 6 years ago, and that was kind of the thing, unfortunately, that ended the marriage.
So it's interesting story, Harry. So jadi para pemirsa, jadi tadi Harry sudah menjelaskan bahwa sebetulnya ini menarik ya. Harry adalah salah satu veteran perang.
Yes.
Jadi dia since young, dari umur 17 sudah menjadi tentara dan langsung diterjunkan ke Irak. Luar biasa. It's amazing. It's amazing experience.
Alhamdulillah that I'm alive in one piece.
Dan yang menariknya adalah ternyata Harry punya kedekatan dengan Indonesia. So you have twice, 2 kali menikah dengan orang Indonesia.
Yes, my current wife is Javanese. She's from Jakarta.
Dan di pernikahan yang kedua akhirnya dia mendapatkan hidayah you as a Muslim.
Yes.
So jadi itu sangat menarik, and kita and next questions we talk about your religion ways. Many people also curious about your spiritual journey. You mentioned it. So what's first you attracted in Islam, or is in Iraq?
So before I joined the army, I was of the opinion that Islam was evil. I used to believe that Islam was evil.
Sorry, what's your religion before?
I was Christian.
Christian,
yes. I became, I was baptized Catholic, but I became Eastern Orthodox when I was a teenager. So, there's this phenomenon now in America with the Gen Z kids.
Are you religious Christian?
I was a religious Christian, yeah.
Okay.
So you see right now in America, there's this phenomenon with the Gen Z kids, Gen Z boys, where a lot of them are becoming traditional Catholic or Eastern Orthodox, of all things, because it's some sort of traditional grounding in a modern world, and they find it appealing. And I was sort of like a Gen Z boy. I was sort of like Nick Fuentes, but not, before Nick Fuentes was a thing. And when I went to, of course, he's a little bit different politics on certain other issues now. He's never been pro-Israel. But I was very anti-Muslim when I was a teenager. I had Muslim friends, but I saw Islam as a fundamentally evil religion that you brown people need to be liberated from.
So it's basically, it's interesting when you first, Islam is evil, then you fall in love with Islam and you convert to Islam.
Over time, I originally believed that the war was the right thing. I was a really motivated young soldier. I wanted to be a 20-year man. I was super into it. The NCOs I had above me said, "Hey man, you got real potential. You could become a platoon sergeant, officer, make your way up the ranks." You were super gung-ho. I had a really good physical fitness score. My head was just all in the game.
So when your view about Islam changed?
My view about Islam changed over time because going to Iraq, and even before that, I was starting to watch, coming back from Iraq, people who had been downrange, other soldiers who had been to Afghanistan, Iraq, and were coming back and starting to say, man, this is a bunch of nonsense. This is all based on lies. And I started realizing, oh, there's something wrong here with the story. And then I started to realize that the whole war was based on lies. And then I started watching Ron Paul in the presidential debates in 2008. He was on the Republican ticket. Like I was telling you earlier, he was more of a libertarian, traditional conservative. America should mind its own business, go back to 1776, talk with everybody, trade with everybody, but stay out of these wars. And Ron Paul kind of slowly became like my hero, man. Like, I still love Ron Paul. He's still my hero to this day. I'd love to meet him one day, inshallah. He's a great man. And I started to realize that the whole war we were being a part of was a lie, and that the people who would put us in here, these neoconservative ideologues, who I've, come to realize are all part of the Zionist front. It's all some kind of continuum. It was a lie. So then when I got injured and then medically discharged, that sort of like radicalized me. I started to think, well, gee, if they're lying to us about this war, what else are they lying to us about? Are they lying to us about Islam? So then that brought the question, so if Al-Qaeda is not the real Islam, if ISIS is not the real Islam, well, what's the real Islam? So that sent me on a long, long journey about what the real Islam is, talking to people, reading, seeing things online, watching Muslim scholars on YouTube, watching a whole gamut of people, everybody from, Mufti Make to Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, watching the whole gamut of people just trying to figure out what's going on here. Okay. And also being here in Southeast Asia and being around Indonesians. that was kind of the catalyst for me to see what the real Islam was, because I was able to see Islam in a non-Arab, non-Middle Eastern context.
You found the Muslim in Indonesia as different.
Yeah, I found that they're kinder, more gentle. I think truly representing the authentic spirit of Islam, and also not caught up in this crazy tribalism between Shia, Sunni.
Okay.
There's nobody fighting about what madhab they're in over here. It's just all Shafi'i. Everybody's on the same page.
Okay, it sounds interesting, Harry. So, jadi pemirsa, tadi menarik sekali apa yang disampaikan Harry. Harry awalnya berpandangan bahwa Islam itu adalah evil, iblis, ya. Dia sangat memusuhi awalnya Anda sangat memusuhi Islam. Tetapi kemudian ada sebuah hal yang kemudian menjadikan dia menjadi Muslim. Dia mulai mempelajari Islam, bahwa ternyata Islam tidak seperti itu. Terlebih ketika dia di Indonesia tadi, dan dia menemukan cintanya, jodohnya di Indonesia. Dan dia melihat Indonesia ini bukan seperti Islam pada umumnya, di mana Islam yang ada di Indonesia ini betul-betul apa yang disebut rahmatan lil alamin. Okay, Harry. So, the audience may be messed to know, but how to be, what is like to be a Muslim living in the United States today, especially after 9/11. How America, what's opinion American about Islam today?
Boy, that's a real challenge, and it's a similar challenge. Alhamdulillah that I spent time as an Orthodox Christian, as a convert to that in America before I became Muslim, and I'll tell you why. Because converts to Eastern Orthodox Christianity face a lot of the same challenges that they do when people convert to Islam. So the reason I left Christianity was because I started having real doubts about the nature of the Trinity. Sorry, Christian brothers and sisters, I just don't think Jesus is God. We love Jesus, but we just don't see it. And once you see the truth about the Trinity, it's hard to unsee that. But one thing that I really did gain from the Eastern Orthodox Christian tradition was two things. First of all, I knew what it was like to be a minority in a community where it's an ethnic group that you're not a part of. So in many ways, the Orthodox Christians that took me in were very kind to me, but the Greeks are the Greeks, the Russians are the Russians, the Antiochians are the Antiochians. They have their ways. And, when you convert to something like that, they always kind of wonder, why are you here? And that's a problem that a lot of Muslims face, a lot of convert white people in particular face when they become Muslim in the United States. It's well, these are really wonderful people, but I'm not Arab. I'm not Turkish. And so there's a little bit of disconnect.
Yeah, you're American, but you're Muslim.
Yeah.
Have you facing a challenge from your family?
Oddly enough, my family has been surprisingly understanding of it. Even very conservative people who disagree with me on politics about the Middle East, very understanding and supportive. Tolerant.
It's very difficult. Your family accept you as a Muslim.
No. That's oddly enough, because of my family background, big military family, I think that they are so used to differences in culture, differences in opinion, that they just go, all right. Oftentimes military people are very good, just because they're seasoned travelers. They're very good at dealing with different types of people. And so they understand how to act and deal with them.
So actually, the opinion American today is
improving. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
I would say that Islam is entering the United States just as Christianity entered in the Roman Empire. When Christianity first entered the Roman Empire, it was sort of this big deal. And it was what are these Christians doing here? They're weird.
You heard about the New York mayor, Zohran Mamdani, is a Muslim mayor, first Muslim mayor.
Yeah, he's not really a serious Muslim, but alhamdulillah that he's the mayor. I don't agree with his politics. I'm much more conservative.
It's improvement.
At least he's not a Zionist. I'll take that.
Baik, para pemirsa, tadi Harry sudah menjelaskan ya bahwa sekarang sudah banyak sekali improve ya dari pandangan Amerika, orang-orang Amerika sendiri terhadap Islam ya. Sekarang banyak sekali orang-orang Amerika yang mulai menerima Islam sebagai salah satu bagian dari Amerika itu sendiri. Islam is a part of America. And then your last video, is viral.
Yeah.
When you condolences and condemn with Iranian ambassador. What made you decide to do that? Did you expect the video to gain so much attention?
Well, I was expecting it to get some attention. I was hoping for that because I do have a message for the ambassador on behalf of most American people who do not want this war, and that many Americans now see that Israel is basically acting as our colonial occupier. They're acting as our colonial occupier, not in a traditional military occupation, but it is very much a political occupation, and they will kill people. They will destroy people's lives, and they will destroy people's reputations in order to get what they want. They're very evil. They are very much our colonial occupier in the same way that the Dutch occupied Indonesia right here. You know, you might as well, over there in Glodok, you got that big fancy Dutch administrative building from the Dutch colonial area. That might as well be APAC headquarters.
Kota Tua di Kota Tua.
Kota Tua, yeah. Kota Tua might as well be APAC. APAC might as well be our Kota Tua, and inshallah in 10 years, it'll be a museum, just like Kota Tua is. I went to the Iranian ambassador to tell him that. I also work with Sesa, and my friend in Sesa helped me arrange that meeting. Very kind of him. Shout out to Reza for doing that. Great man. Anywho, you know, my father, who lived in Vietnam for 20 years, he was in the war. As I was telling you before, he was in the war. He did 2 tours in Vietnam, chopper pilot, flew guys in and out of the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Cambodia. My dad was a serious fighter, serious warrior. He had been in the military for 30 years. He had worked for Raytheon for 30 years after he got out of the military. My dad had a real change of heart, and I watched him go through a metamorphosis as he got older. He told me when I was a kid, he said, "Harry, what if I told you that these wars are just based on lies so that people can make money?" And I said, "Really, Dad? Are you serious? I thought we're fighting for freedom." He said, "No, it's really not about that." My father, until Allah we returned, passed away about a month ago in Vietnam. And on his deathbed, he told me that he didn't want any more of our family fighting in the military right now because Israel, he started to realize even as an older man, most boomers, most older people don't understand. They have a hard time getting past the brainwashing about Israel. And let me tell you, it's like North Korean levels of propaganda that older generations have been dealing with. My dad started to see the truth about Israel. He saw the truth about the machine. And we love America, but we don't want to be used like this. We don't want I don't want my kids to be used like this. So I told him, you know, I don't plan on letting my kids join the army right now. It's not a good time. We can't let this happen anymore. We need to say no to the machine. We need to say no to our Israeli occupiers.
Jadi itu it's interesting story. Jadi tadi Harry sudah menceritakan bahwa pengalaman tidak hanya pengalaman dirinya tapi pengalaman ayahnya sebagai veteran, your father veteran, also, bahwa menunjukkan bahwa perang itu tidak menghasilkan keuntungan bagi siapapun, tapi hanya menguntungkan segelintir pihak. Tadi dia sebut. Maka dari itu ayahnya bilang waktu tadi bilang belajar dari sebetulnya ayahnya menolak ya. It's first your father is not allowed you as army, you know.
What he said that he did not want his grandchildren to be used in the same way. Yeah. And I said, yeah, I don't want my kids to be used in that way, you know, and it's kind of sad because I really love the army, but I hate to see how it's being used. You know, my father, my grandfathers, my uncles, you know, all of them come from a military background on both sides.
Yeah. So your family's background have a background military.
Yeah, and I'm not some liberal hippie. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in fully automatic machine guns should be allowed for average citizens. I vote conservative. I believe in low taxes. I'm not a socialist. I'm not some hippie walking around with a Che Guevara t-shirt, you know? So I'm very conservative, and I say it with sadness.
Yeah, although you know the American history have occupied by British.
Yeah.
So it's strange when America now occupied other countries.
Yeah, and America is now occupied by Israel, and that's a big part of the problem.
Now he mentioned with stately America is occupied by Israel now. So, and the last, how Islam influenced your views about justice, peace, and humanity? Shortly.
So, it's interesting. I had a gradual evolution towards Islam, and I had to let go of some of my old beliefs and then embrace new ones. But interestingly enough, I would say there's a lot of overlap between the spirit of 1776 of the American founding fathers and Islam and the Constitution of Medina. And people hear that and they go, are you crazy? Those aren't the same things. And of course, they're not the same things one for one. Not exactly the same things. But there's a lot of overlap in that the founding fathers of America wanted a nation where people could practice their religion freely. Yeah. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings.
Same with Indonesia.
Same with Indonesia. The Pancasila, I'm always told, is based on the Constitution of Medina. And there's a lot. Pancasila is not exactly the same as the U.S. Constitution, but there's a lot of overlap there.
Ini amazing, luar biasa ya pemirsa. Jadi Harry juga mempelajari tentang Pancasila ya. Tadi di video yang kemarin juga dia cukup tahu juga tentang perjuangan bangsa Indonesia melawan penjajah Belanda seperti itu. Okay, the closing questions. Before we end this conversation, I have one final questions for you. What message would you like to share with people around the world about Islam and about peace?
So the Zionist machine, in all its different forms and mass nations, has made itself its mission, its plot over the last 50 years in particular, has been to play on ancient East versus West divide. So you read books like A World Without Islam by former CIA analyst Graham Fuller, where he talks about the divide between Christianity and Islam is actually an ancient East versus West divide that goes beyond and before the advent of Christianity and Islam. So long before Christianity and Islam, we were fighting, the ancient Persians and the ancient Greeks, like the movie 300, Raoul Xerxes versus King Leonidas and the brave Spartans. And this is sort of an ancient paradigm that we've fallen into still. So in a way, Christianity and Islam are sort of just labels placed on top of that ancient East versus West divide. And I think that's true. The Zionist entity has been very good at exploiting that to expand their Greater Israel project, and they're continuing on with that. And we need to understand that we really don't have to be each other's enemies. Really. And I tell my Christian American friends this all the time. The average Muslim is not your enemy. And I tell my message to the Muslim world as well. The average American is not your enemy. And people are starting to wake up and they're really starting to see the truth. And, when I said that to the ambassador, that the eyes of the American people are opening and we're seeing more and more of the truth and the reality of what's going on, I mean that sincerely. I believe that Islam is entering into the United States just as Christianity entered into the Roman Empire. And if America doesn't become a Muslim nation, at the very least, it's going to become more tolerant and understanding as time goes on. The more the Zionist entity and the more the war machine lies about Islam, the more people research and look into Islam, as I did. It's coming.
Okay, Harry. So it's very long, interesting conversation between us. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and experience with us today. It was a very insightful conversation, and we hope this discussion helps people understand different perspective and encourage dialogue. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Jadi para pemirsa, demikianlah diskusi dwi bahasa ya, multilingual pada hari ini. Tapi kita intinya adalah kita tahu ya bahwa ternyata tidak semua orang Amerika setuju ya dengan apa yang menjadi keputusan pemerintahnya untuk perang. Seperti kita tahu bahwa tadi Harry sudah menjelaskan bahwa ternyata orang Amerika banyak sekali yang cinta damai. Tapi apa yang terjadi adalah bahwa saat ini pemerintahan Amerika dijajah oleh Israel, sehingga setiap tindak tanduk keputusannya tadi cukup berpengaruh ya terhadap perdamaian dunia. Kita berharap semoga dunia Semoga dunia ini diliputi dalam kedamaian. We hope this world peace.
Yes.
We live in peace, not war.
Yes, inshallah. That is the legacy of my father. That is my hope as both an American and Muslim, that we be friends and get along with each other and look past the lies of the Zionist entity and really try and heal divisions within Islam too. I mean, President Obama himself has said we really need to this whole Shia Sunni. Let's put this aside for a little bit. Deal with it later.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And if I may, just real quickly, to continue to spread the message, please follow me on X at Mr. Harry198, X formerly known as Twitter. Also, please follow me on Instagram, Harry Elliff, and Threads, Harry Elliff. I hope you guys can put the links in the description.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Next, the link below. Jadi follow juga ya, follow akun media sosial dari Harry Elliff tadi di X. You have X, Instagram.
And Threads.
Yes,
sir.
Exactly. Okay. Sampai jumpa di podcast Jakarta Inside selanjutnya. Sampai jumpa. See you.
Assalamualaikum.